All right. This one's called Unlearning Fatphobia. What do we got?
What's in the box?
All right. Here we go.
I think a really integral part of being happy is unlearning the fat phobia that society has taught us. It was mandatory for me as a fat person. Personally, after spending over a decade and a half yo-yo dieting, I came to the conclusion that either I was going to spend the rest of my life hating my body, hating myself, being on diet, or I would just accept the body that I was in and try to be happy. If I did not come to the realization that I did and decided to unlearn the fat phobic ideas that I had been taught since I was a child, there would have been no opportunity for me to feel any type of joy in my life. Because I thought about my body all the time. I was miserable. I didn't think that fat people were allowed to just exist and be happy.
Fat people do exist. Happiness is a choice.
Didn't know that I was allowed to just be.
You didn't know you were allowed to just be? You can just be. You obviously are just being. You're allowed to do whatever. It's called freedom. You're allowed to do most things that you want. Obviously, we know the choices that you're making.
Thought in order to have a joyful, happy life, I had to be thin. And no one told me that wasn't the case.
I think you're confusing happy and joy with being healthy, which is definitely a huge part of happiness and joy. If you're unhealthy, then this part here, let me see. Personally, after spending over a decade and a half yo-yo dieting. So here's your issue. A decade and a half doing things wrong. So instead you just gave up and you're like, I didn't know I could just not do anything and get attention and love and just be happy. I didn't know I could just not try. And that's really what's going on. I don't hate to break it to you, but here's the thing. I guarantee you didn't do what we're doing in the Swole fam. I guarantee you didn't meditate, get quality sleep. Any guesses whether or not she went like carnivore, eating beef, organ meats, right? She cut out vegetables. She cut out processed foods and all that stuff. She lifted heavy weights. Like, she didn't do things properly. I'm not saying you have to be full carnivore, but any guesses? What do you think? There's no chance. Otherwise, she would have lost the weight. She would have lost the fat. Guarantee she's on birth control. Again, not necessary. But the estrogenics in her environment, that never changed. So I'm not saying that everyone, I'm not saying that everyone has information. It's getting more and more popular. Everyone should have this information, but it's available. I guarantee, look, she didn't do it right. So just because you spent over a decade and a half yo-yo dieting, you're just literally saying, after a decade and a half of doing shit wrong, I just gave up and now I'm like, you know what? I could just be happy and not change. It's like, okay, that's not a problem with fat phobia in the system. That's you giving up or just getting frustrated with yourself and you did things wrong. A lot of people do things wrong. How long they do it wrong and if they actually navigate the right direction. So you did stupid diets for a decade and a half and shocker that they didn't work. She never did it right. So again, I'm not sitting here gloating like, haha, she never did it right, but to turn it on everyone else and to turn on like, I didn't think fat people were allowed to just exist and be happy. They are allowed to exist. They're everywhere. Have you gone to a Walmart recently? Have you gone out in public? Yeah, they're allowed to just exist. No one's like, hey, fat people can't exist. They just shouldn't be existing in fast food lines. They shouldn't be sitting on the couch watching Netflix. People should be investing more in their health and exercising and lifting weights and eating real fucking food. So this whole idea that just because you have low self-esteem, this is like this old internal dialogue. I didn't know fat people are allowed to just exist. Really? Really? That's just stupid. I didn't know fat people are allowed to just exist. What the fuck are you talking about?